You really gonna leave your own kid behind like that? That's what my grandma said to my dad the night he packed up and dipped. I was 5, sitting on the floor with a crayon in one hand and a half-eaten grilled cheese in the other, watching the only parent I had left walk out the door like he was heading to the store, except he never came back. Mom had died 2 months earlier. Car accident. She was picking me up from preschool, and some drunk guy ran a red instant. That day flipped everything upside down. Dad couldn't handle it. Or maybe he just didn't want to. One night, he dropped me off with Grandma and Grandpa in this tiny Ohio town and mumbled something about needing time to grieve. That was it. No hugs, no promises, just a slammed car door and silence. At first, I waited. Every night. I'd sit by the window hoping to see his headlights pull in. I even kept my backpack by the door just in case he came back to take me home. Stupid, right? Grandma tried to sugarcoat it. Your daddy's got a lot going on. Honey, he'll be back soon. But her eyes told the truth. Even then, I knew she was lying to make me feel better. Eventually, I stopped asking. By the time I hit 3rd grade, he was just some ghost story we didn't talk about. My grandparents, God bless them, did everything they could. Grandpa worked as a postman. Grandma cleaned houses and waitressed at this local diner. They weren't rich. But damn if they didn't try their hardest to make me feel like I wasn't missing anything. Grandma was this tiny lady with a spine of steel. Woke up before sunrise. Came home after sunset. And still managed to make me dinner, check my homework, and rub my back when I had nightmares. She was the kind of woman who'd give you the last $5 in her wallet without blinking, and never complain. Not once. I remember once she saved up for weeks to buy me this Spider-Man backpack. Bright red, had lights on the sides. I carried it everywhere, even to the backyard. It felt like armor. Fast forward to high school. I started noticing how hard they were working just to stay afloat. Grandpa's health was going downhill, coughing fits. Hospital visits. Always tired. He kept showing up to work until he physically couldn't anymore. That's when shit got real. Grandma started working 2, sometimes 3 jobs just to cover bills and meds. I did my best, cooked dinner, cleaned up, worked a few shifts at the gas station down the road, still went to school, still got decent grades. But every day, I felt like I was sprinting underwater. There were nights Grandma would sit at the kitchen table just staring, bills piled up. I could hear her crying through the thin walls sometimes. She'd wipe her face and pretend everything was fine come morning. But I wasn't a dumb kid. I saw it all. Then Grandpa died. It was a rainy Wednesday. He passed in his sleep at the hospital. Peaceful, they said. Felt anything but. After the funeral, the house felt too quiet, too hollow, like we'd lost our anchor. College. That dream died with him. I couldn't leave Grandma alone, not after all she'd sacrificed. So I got a full-time job at a local auto shop, oil changes, tire rotations, that kind of stuff. Not glamorous, but it paid the bills. Grandma, she still worked part-time. I begged her to stop, but she was stubborn as hell. Said she needed to keep busy. Then last week, the phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, expecting a telemarketer or maybe some scam. Hi? Is this Mark? The voice was soft, too polite. Yeah, who's this? Pause. I'm Vanessa, your father's wife. I felt my throat go dry. My father's what? She sighed like she'd been rehearsing. He passed. Car accident. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. I didn't feel anything. Not anger. Not sadness. Just nothing. Like someone told me a stranger died. Because that's what he was. At that point, a stranger who happened to be my biological father. But then she said something that made my blood boil. There's a matter of the estate. The inheritance. It's a little complicated. You're legally entitled to part of it, but I was hoping you'd consider waiving your rights. It would really simplify things. Utia, this woman, who I didn't even know existed until 5 minutes ago, wanted me to just hand over whatever my dad left behind after he ghosted me for 2 decades. Screw that. I told her I wasn't giving up anything. She got quiet, then cold. Well, this could get messy. Good, I said. Let's get messy. After that call, I sat there at the kitchen table just stunned. Grandma was washing dishes like nothing happened. I didn't even realize I was still holding the phone until she turned around and asked, "Everything okay, baby?" I told her, word for word. Her face didn't even flinch. "I always knew that man would try and crawl back from the grave one way or another," she muttered, drying her hands with a towel. "But asking you to give up what's yours, that's low even for him." I think that was the closest I'd ever seen her to being pissed. The next morning, I took off work and drove to this local attorney Grandma trusted, old guy named Dean. Wore suspenders, smelled like coffee and paper. The kind of man who didn't waste time on small talk. I laid it all out the phone call. The inheritance, the years of silence. He nodded a lot. Took notes with a pen that squeaked every time it moved. "You're the legal heir, Mark," he said, "biological child. Unless there's a will saying otherwise. Half of everything he left is yours, even if he vanished on me for 2 decades. Doesn't matter, law's law. But I'll tell you this, it's gonna piss her off." I grinned. Good. Couple days later, her lawyer sent me some official-looking packet. Long-ass letter talking about amicable resolutions and out-of-court settlements. All legal fluff. Really just asking again if I'd give up my half. The tone polite on the surface, but condescending as hell underneath. They even threw in a line like, "Given your father's absence in your life, we hope you'll recognize this estate is a reflection of his shared life with Vanessa." Oh, so now I was supposed to feel guilty that I wasn't part of his shared life? Screw that. I called Dean, told him to push back. He sent a formal letter stating I wasn't waiving jack. That's when the real drama kicked in. Vanessa started calling me directly. Blocked number. Always late at night. First, it was fake sweet. "Can we talk? Just the two of us." Then it turned guilt trippy. "Your dad wouldn't want this." Finally, it hit full Karen mode. "You're being greedy. You're nothing to him." That last one. That one actually got to me. Not because I believed her, but because I realized she really believed he was nothing to me either. And the part that hurt most, she was right. I wanted to care. But there was nothing left in me for that man. Just ashes and empty spaces. A week after the lawyer stuff started, I got a letter. Not an email. An actual envelope with handwriting on it shaky. Messy. Inside was a short note from someone named Lily. She said she was my half-sister. Yeah, my dad had another kid. And get this, she didn't even know about me until he passed. Apparently, Vanessa kept my existence under wraps. She said he talked about me once, years ago. But Vanessa got mad and he never brought it up again. Lily found out after the funeral, digging through some old boxes in the attic. Found pictures me as a baby. One with mom holding me. A faded one of him and my mom at a park. She wrote, "I don't know you, but I think you should know the truth. You were never forgotten." I stared at that line for a long, long time. I didn't cry. I didn't know how to. But I felt this weird ache in my chest, like someone pressed a thumb down on a bruise I forgot I had. The next day, Vanessa showed up at our door. No warning. Just pulled up in her shiny white SUV. Sunglasses too big for her face. Holding a Starbucks cup like it was a damn trophy. "I just want to talk," she said the second I opened the door. "Nah," I replied. "You want to negotiate? That's different." She looked around, like maybe she expected a bigger house. Judging. Judging me. Judging the paint chipping off the porch rails. Judging our busted mailbox. "I don't think you understand what's at stake," she said, stepping closer. "This estate, those assets were built by me and your father. You weren't part of that. You were a memory, a footnote." I bit my tongue so hard it bled. "You done?" I asked. She hesitated. "Why are you doing this?" I leaned in. "Because I'm sick of people like you thinking they can rewrite the story just because they stuck around longer." My dad may have forgotten about me, but the law didn't, and neither did I. She turned to leave, but not before muttering, "This isn't over." 2 weeks later, it escalated. Her lawyers filed a motion to contest my biological connection. You heard that right. They were literally trying to argue I wasn't my father's son, that maybe I was just some random kid Grandma raised and passed off as his. I was livid. Dean set up a meeting. They wanted to reassess the validity of my claim pending DNA proof. That's when Grandma pulled out this tiny metal box I hadn't seen in years. Inside my dad's old high school class ring, and a folded birth certificate with his signature. Your mom kept it in her purse. She said quietly, "Never let go of it." Dean sent that over, along with a formal paternity request for testing. Meanwhile, Lily, my maybe half-sister, called me for the first time. Her voice shook. She said she hated how Vanessa was handling things. Said she found journal entries my dad writing about me. Regret. Guilt. Wanting to reach out but not knowing how. "I know this doesn't fix anything," she said. "But I thought you should hear it from someone who knew him at the end. He talked about you more than you think." I didn't know what to say. I just sat there holding the phone like it might shatter. 3 days ago, the DNA test came back. I was his son, no question. And with that, all of Vanessa's petty legal tricks collapsed like a bad poker hand. Dean called me. They're offering to settle. 50-50 split. No more games. I asked Grandma what she thought. She looked me dead in the eye. "Take it. Then walk away. With your head up." So I did. The money, I didn't blow it. I used some to fix up the house. Finally let Grandma retire. Paid off every debt she was too proud to mention. The rest put away for something better. Maybe college, maybe a business. But you know what felt better than the money? Walking out of that lawyer's office with my dignity intact. Because for once, I didn't just survive the storm, I owned it. The week after we settled, life felt quiet. Not peaceful. Not yet. Just this weird stillness, like my body hadn't caught up to the fact that the fight was over. I kept expecting something else to happen. Another call. Another email from her lawyers. A knock at the door. Nothing came. Instead, I found myself staring at the ceiling at night, just thinking about Dad. About how different everything could have been. How maybe I would have grown up with a brother or sister. Or maybe I wouldn't have had to grow up so damn fast. But mostly, I thought about Grandma. She didn't say much after we won, just smiled, touched my face gently, and went back to cooking dinner like it was any other Tuesday. But I could tell it hit her hard too. Maybe not the money part, but the full circle moment. Like some part of her finally felt vindicated for everything she carried on her back alone. That weekend, I took her out for dinner. Nothing fancy, just a decent steakhouse near town. We sat by the window. She ordered a margarita. I almost laughed. "You drinking tonight?" She grinned. "Damn right I am." I raised my glass to her. To the toughest woman I've ever known. Her eyes watered. To the boy who turned into a man while I wasn't looking. The following Monday, I got a message on Facebook. It was from Lily. "Hey, I know things ended weird with the settlement. Just wanted to say, I think you did the right thing. Vanessa's still pissed, but she'll get over it. Eventually. I hope we can talk sometime, no pressure." It took me a few days to reply. I wasn't sure what to say. Part of me wanted to block her and move on. Another part, the quiet one that still wondered what life would have been like if Dad had stayed, told me not to shut that door so fast. So I wrote back, "Thanks, I'd like that too. Maybe coffee sometime." She replied almost instantly, "Yes, I'd like that." We met at a coffee shop halfway between our towns. It was awkward at first. Like talking to someone who looked kinda like you, but from a different universe. We sat there, sipping lattes, both trying to find the right words. Finally, she broke the silence. "I found a letter," she said, "addressed to you, unsent, hidden in his drawer." She slid a folded paper across the table. My hands shook as I picked it up. It was dated 2 years ago. His handwriting was messy, rushed. The ink was smudged in places. Mark, I don't even know if this will reach you. Maybe it's too late. Maybe you hate me. And if you do, I get it. I've hated myself too. I was a coward. I let grief eat me alive and I ran instead of staying. I thought leaving you with your grandparents was the kindest thing. I realize now that kindness without presence is still abandonment. I should have come back. I should have been your father. Not a day goes by I don't think about you. I hope one day you'll forgive me. Dad. I didn't cry right then. I just folded the letter back up and put it in my pocket. Lily was watching me, like she expected a breakdown or a dramatic moment. All I said was, "That's a lot of words for someone who never showed up." She nodded. Yeah, I thought the same thing. But that night, in the quiet of my room, I read it again and again, until the words stopped feeling like wounds and started feeling like scars still there, but no longer bleeding. Life didn't magically get better. This isn't some movie where everything wraps up with a neat little bow, but it got manageable. Grandma finally stopped working. I made her a little reading nook by the window. She spends hours there now, sipping tea and judging people on daytime TV. She says she's living her best life. I believe her. I fixed up the garage. Took over part-time shifts again, but on my terms this time. Built a little side hustle doing custom restoration work on old trucks. Word spread. Business picked up. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. And me, I started sleeping better. Started laughing more. Started feeling like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't carrying the weight of 2 lifetimes on my shoulders anymore. Lily and I talk sometimes. Not siblings exactly. Not strangers either. Somewhere in between. We're figuring it out. Vanessa, last I heard, she was still trying to sell off the lake house Dad left behind. I heard it's been sitting empty. Buyers keep pulling out. Something about the place feeling too cold. Can't say I'm surprised. One evening, Grandma and I sat on the porch, watching the sunset turn the sky into watercolor. You ever think about him? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Just rocked gently in her chair, eyes fixed on the horizon. I used to, she said eventually, used to wonder what he was doing. If he thought about you. If he regretted anything. And now, she sighed. Now I think he missed out. Missed out on watching you grow into this man. That's punishment enough. I nodded. Yeah, maybe. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't doing any of this for him. I did it for the woman who stayed. The one who never flinched, never bailed, never stopped loving me even when everything around us was falling apart. That night, I took the letter out one last time. Read it under the porch light. The paper now soft at the folds. I didn't feel hate. Not anymore. Just sadness. For the years lost. For the man who could have been something more, but chose the easy way out. I stood up, walked to the edge of the yard, and burned it. Watched the flames curl the paper into ash. The words turning to smoke, not because I was erasing him, but because I was done carrying him. A couple months passed. Summer turned into early fall. Leaves started doing that thing where they turn gold and crimson, and the air smells like firewood and unfinished business. I thought the whole chapter with my dad was closed after I burned the letter. Done. Sealed. But life has this annoying habit of shaking the jar just when the water settles. One Thursday morning, I was under a pickup truck at the shop when I heard my phone buzz in my back pocket. I almost ignored it. Grease-covered hands. Socket wrench halfway into a rusted bolt, but something told me to check it. It was a message from Lily. Short. Just one line. You need to see this. She sent a photo. A manila envelope. Addressed to me. My name, full name, written in bold blue ink. She followed up. Vanessa gave this to me. Said it was from Dad's lawyer. I'm sorry it didn't come sooner. I left the truck hanging mid-repair. Wiped my hands on my jeans, and drove straight to her place. We sat at her kitchen table, same one where she and Dad used to eat dinner. Apparently, she slid the envelope toward me like it was a bomb. "You sure this is for me?" I asked. She nodded. "Read the postmark." It was mailed 2 days before the crash. I opened it. Inside, a handwritten letter. 2 pages. Legal docs. A copy of a revised will. Notarized. Witnessed. I scanned the letter first. Mark. If this reaches you, it means I finally did something right. I updated my will. I left you the cabin. The one near Big Creek Lake. It was your mom's favorite place. We used to take you there before. Well, before I messed everything up. Vanessa doesn't know about this yet. She thinks everything was already handled. But I wanted you to have something that mattered. This isn't about money. It's about memory. It's not much, but it's yours. I hope you go there someday. I hope you can sit on that old porch and feel like you belong. Dad. I couldn't breathe for a second. I handed Lily the letter. She read it, blinking hard. I didn't know. She whispered. She never told me. I looked at the copy of the will. Clear as day. Cabin deed signed over to me. Legally binding. Effective immediately upon his death. And suddenly, Vanessa's game made sense. She knew. She knew about the cabin. She knew it was supposed to be mine. But instead of telling me, she tried to bury it under a fake amicable agreement, hoping I'd just walk away. The lake property was worth more than both his cars and his investments combined. It wasn't just about keeping me out. It was about stealing what was left of my mother's memory. I was livid. Not the hot-blooded kind. The cold kind. The kind that makes your voice steady and your movements calculated. "You gonna confront her?" Lily asked. I shook my head. "No. I'm gonna visit the cabin." That weekend, I drove out to Big Creek Lake. Took me 4 hours. Roads winding through woods. Spotty cell service. The kind of silence that presses in on you. When I got there, the place looked exactly like I remembered, at least. In that blurry half-memory way kids hold on to stuff. Peeling paint. Worn porch swing. Screen door that squealed like it had secrets. I stepped inside. The air smelled like cedar and dust. Old family photos on the mantle. One of me, maybe 3 years old, holding a pine cone bigger than my head. My mom in the background, laughing. She looked so alive, so warm. I stood there a long time. Then I sat on the porch and didn't move until the sun went down. That night, I slept on the creaky twin bed in the guest room. No electricity, just candlelight. No internet, no buzz, no distractions. It was the best sleep I'd had in years. Next morning, I started cleaning, not out of obligation, but because it felt right. Like I was restoring something, not just the cabin, but the thread connecting me to a life that almost disappeared. I found tools in the shed. Fixed the door. Scrubbed the counters. A week later, I had a plumber come in and get the water running again. I paid for new solar panels. Replaced the busted heater. Slowly. It started to feel less like a ghost house and more like mine. I didn't tell Vanessa a damn thing. Let her stew. Let her keep telling herself she won. Meanwhile, I was sitting on my mom's porch, drinking coffee, watching the lake catch morning light like it was made of diamonds. Then the town clerk called me. Apparently, Vanessa tried to sell the cabin 3 months earlier, claimed ownership under the old will, filed a title transfer that got flagged during background checks when she couldn't produce the original document. Yeah, she tried to steal it. I faxed over my notarized copy. They confirmed it. Said if she tried again, there'd be legal repercussions. A week later, I got a letter from Vanessa. Not a call, not a text, a goddamn letter. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was just trying to hold on to the life your father and I built together. The cabin meant something to us too. Maybe we can come to an understanding. I didn't even open the rest. Just tossed it in the fireplace and watched it burn. We already had an understanding, she lied. I didn't. End of story. Back home, Grandma noticed a change in me. You smile more, she said one evening while we were folding laundry. I think I'm just less tired, I replied. She gave me this look. That look. The one only grandmas have. The one that sees straight through your bones. You went and found something you weren't even looking for, she said. That's what healing is. It sneaks up on you. And she was right. Because it wasn't just about the inheritance anymore, or the fight, or even the cabin. It was about taking something broken, something left behind, and making it whole again, on my terms. Lily visited the cabin once. She stood on the porch, looked around, and said, "This place feels like a pause button." I laughed. That's one way to put it. She sat in Mom's old rocking chair. He used to talk about this place like it was holy ground. Said it's where he fell in love with your mom. I swallowed hard. Yeah. I think he lost himself when she died. She nodded. And you paid the price. We didn't say anything else for a while. Just listened to the wind move through the trees. Somewhere out there, a loon called across the water. Before she left, she handed me a photo, a Polaroid of my dad holding baby me. We were both smiling. Pure joy. No pretense. I found it in a box of his, she said. Figured you should have it. I looked at it. Really looked. And for the first time, I didn't feel rage, or grief, or betrayal. Just a tiny spark of something softer. Maybe forgiveness. Not for him, but for myself. Thanksgiving came around faster than I expected. Normally, it was just me and Grandma. Maybe a neighbor or two if someone didn't have family in town, but this year felt different. The cabin had been fixed up enough to host something real. So I asked Grandma, "Want to do dinner out there this year?" She raised an eyebrow. "The lake in November. We'll bring extra blankets." She smiled. Didn't even hesitate. Hell yeah. We invited Lily too. I wasn't sure if she'd say yes, but she did. Brought a pumpkin pie and a folding chair. Said she wasn't much of a cook. Grandma took one bite and said, "Store-bought, but it'll do." We laughed. Hard. For the first time, it didn't feel forced. The three of us sat around a small table I built from reclaimed wood. Nothing fancy, just sturdy. Like the people sitting around it. We didn't talk about Dad. Not directly, but his absence filled the air like smoke from the fireplace. It didn't choke us anymore, but we still felt it. At one point, Lily stood up and raised her glass. "To chosen family," she said. I looked over at Grandma, then back at her. Two people who stayed. A week later, I got a call from Dean. I got a strange request. He said, "Vanessa's lawyer wants to open communication. Apparently, she's claiming some of your father's art collection was misallocated." I nearly dropped my phone. "What art collection?" Dean chuckled. "Exactly. Turns out my dad had a hobby painting. Not masterpieces or anything, just landscapes and abstract stuff. He kept them at a storage unit near the cabin. Vanessa never mentioned it, probably because she thought it wasn't worth anything. But one of the pieces had ended up in a local gallery last year. Someone bought it. It made the rounds online after Dad's death. And boom, suddenly there was interest. Now she wanted to discuss intellectual property rights. I told Dean, she can discuss with the wind. I'm not playing cleanup for a woman who tried to erase me. He said he'd pass it along. I didn't hear back. Later that month, I went to check out the storage unit. I didn't know what I'd find. Maybe a few dusty canvases and some old supplies. But when I opened that roll-up door, it hit me like a freight train. Paintings, dozens of them, big, small, on canvas, on wood. Some looked unfinished. Others had notes on the back dates. Titles. Even little thoughts scrawled in pencil. One caught my eye. It was a lake. Our lake. Cabin just off to the left. Early morning mist curling off the water. On the back, he'd written home, if he ever wants it. I had to sit down. My knees just gave out. I didn't cry, but I shook. That moment, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like I finally heard him speak, not in letters or legal docs or half-truths, but through something real. Something he made. I brought the paintings back to the cabin, hung a few up, stored the rest. One went over the fireplace. The one with the lake. Every time I look at it, it says, "You were never forgotten." Eventually, word got around about the paintings. A friend of mine who runs a local coffee shop asked if I'd loan one to display, said it would honor the artist. I agreed. People started asking about the guy behind the brush. I didn't lie. I told them he was my dad. I told them he made a lot of mistakes, that he walked away from me, and I never got the apology I wanted. But I also told them he painted like someone who was always trying to get back to something he lost. It wasn't forgiveness, it was context. And somehow, that felt more powerful. One evening, Grandma pulled out a dusty box from the closet, said it had been buried in the back since the early 2000s. Inside were letters. Not from Dad, from Mom. She'd written them to me when I was a baby. Stuff she never got to say. Milestones she hoped to see. Fears about raising a kid in a messy world. Love in every line. One stuck out. Written on the day of my first birthday. Mark, you won't remember this day, but I will. You laughed when we gave you cake. Threw it in your dad's face. I've never loved harder in my life. If I'm not around when you grow up, I hope you always know this. You are enough. You don't have to earn love. You already deserve it. And if life gets hard, find your way back to the water. It's where everything good started. I closed the letter and stared out the window at the lake, calm and still. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I grabbed a hammer, a few planks of wood, and built a sign. Stuck it right at the edge of the property. It reads, "Welcome to Waterline Cabin. You are enough." Things settled after that. Vanessa tried once more to reach out. Some bull about a peaceful conversation. I sent it straight to spam. Lily and I talked more often. Not every day, but enough. She showed up when Grandma had surgery on her hip, brought flowers and soup like she'd been part of our family forever. Grandma didn't say it, but I saw it in her eyes. She saw her as one of us now. I kept working, kept building. Some weekends I'd go out to the cabin alone, just sit on the porch and breathe. And sometimes I'd paint. Nothing fancy. Just trees and shadows. A dock. The way light hits the water around 6:30 p.m. I wasn't trying to be my dad, but I understood now why he did it. Painting isn't about creating something perfect, it's about finding quiet when your brain won't shut up. It's about presence. One morning, I found a box on the porch. No return address. Inside the rest of Dad's journals, Lily must have sent them. No note, just the books. I read through one before bed. He talked a lot about failure, about love, about guilt. One line stuck with me: "I don't know how to be a father to a ghost, but I want to try. If he'll let me." I closed the journal. Didn't feel hate or pity, just peace. He never made it back in time, but that wasn't on me. I wasn't the ghost. He was